Hi guys, and welcome to this video. This particular one is going to be an inbox review. I do have a pending video for the cappuccino build, which as you can see is in progress there. We've got some decals and paint applied to the body shell, and there's some other bits assembled and prepped for painting. And I'll be doing an update on that as soon as I get some clear on it. But having just gotten this, I saw this announced just the other day as just new in stock in the UK, and I love anything a little bit quirky. And this is a what if ball tank, a Soviet ball tank or Sharotank, in 1/35th scale apparently. So I thought I like that. It's a bit different. I'm going to go ahead and get that. This arrived this morning, and as you can see, it is still in shrink wrap, which is an oddity in itself for kits these days. So I thought I will share the pleasure of opening it and seeing what's inside with you guys as I go ahead and do it. And as you can see, we've got the nice box art on the front, and then on the upper portion we've got obviously all the available variants of decals and camo schemes inside, which is nice. So tear the shrink wrap off the box and see what it looks like inside there. Got a nice sturdy cardboard box, and right on the top there we can see, I'll just throw this lid down there for the moment, we've got a decal sheet and a couple of tiny bits of clear part. And it looks like everything is thrown inside one clear plastic bag. Yeah, we've got lots of sprues all thrown inside one clear plastic bag, but the decals and the clear parts are in their own separate little bag inside. And then down at the bottom we have a sheet of instructions. These are glossy. It's quite nice actually, a glossy cover and full colour. Highly detailed model, full interior, clear parts included. All hatches can be opened or closed. Decal sheet for 6 variants. That's quite nice. So on the back cover we have a blank page with a dotted outline. It says interior kit. Interior is accurately represented. I'm not entirely sure what that's all about. 4001 Soviet ball tank Sharotank. I don't know if that's maybe to make a display of some type. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. And then inside, on the inside of the front cover, we've got full colour side and front views of the camouflage and decal schemes that are available, and the same on the inside of the back cover. There are 6 variants. We've got a sprue call out, which is always nice. Not so much a problem with new kits because they're new and bagged and should be complete. But when you're buying kits second-hand, I do very much like these sprue call outs because you can see if everything's where it should be. And then we've got some interesting looking decals which look almost photographic, but possibly 3D modelled versions, I'm not sure. They're not your typical line drawings, which is interesting, which is nice, but that looks like a full interior with engine and everything, so that's really, really nice. Yes, yeah, full interior, engine, all the wheels that the track, I was going to say tracks, but track runs on. We've got a radiator and a cooling fan over here. And yeah, that looks really interesting. And we've even got detail on the insides of the balls of each side of the ball. Yeah, this is looking very, very cool. I like it. I like it. The tracks are 4 separate pieces of plastic which look like they just clip together. I don't know why, but I think it was just because of the box art on the front. I had the idea in my head that it was going to be a sort of rubber band track, but that's cool. That's cool. Plastic can be much more detailed, and I'm happy enough with that. So there we go, that's the instructions. What I'm going to do now is take the bits out of the bag, we're going to scoot in close and we're going to have a close-up look at the decal sheet and the sprues. First of all, we're going to take a look at the decal sheet. I'm not going to take it out of the packet because it's heat sealed and I don't want to risk scratching these up and damaging them before I'm ready to build the model. And we've got, the decals look very nice if you sort of twiddle them around so you can see the carrier film. The carrier film is very, very close. They're well in, very good in register, very clean looking, and the carrier film very close to all of the letters and numbers. The only places it's more obvious than most is on the letters and larger numbers there, because obviously it's carrying in between them rather than being individual ones. We have a selection of Cyrillic sorts of Russian names and what have you, and then something that looks like German there, Eftimt für. I'm not sure what that means. My German is very, very basic schoolboy German. I can sort of ask for directions and ask for a banana, a coffee and a piece of cake, which is always handy, I guess. But that's about as far as my German goes. So if anybody out there speaks German and knows what that is, then drop it in the comments below. That'd be useful. What I'm going to do now is look at each of the sprues in turn and take a look at the detail. The plastic is quite odd looking. It's a sort of silvery grey with that strange sort of stretched striated effect you sometimes get, but it's very, very smooth and the decals are really nice and crisply moulded, as you would expect from a brand new tool kit. The detail is great. There is zero flash that I can see so far, and ejector pin marks are minimal and so far, as we can see here, are kept to the rear of the parts that aren't going to be visible. It's nice to see as well the interior of the ball, because obviously depending on how you build this could be visible. It's got, these are obviously locating slots for the parts that are going to go into it, but there are no obvious ejector pin marks. Well, there are some little ones up here, but no glaringly obvious ones, and they're actually in a place that are easy enough to address, so that's quite nice to see. So obviously what we've got here is one half of the ball that forms the tank, and then various bits and pieces. This is part of the engine, I believe, the sump, one of the cannon turrets that goes on the side. We've got various engine components here by the look of it, and maybe a fuel drum or an oil drum or something like, exhaust bits perhaps. I'm not entirely sure. It's going to be a bit of an adventure finding out what all these bits and pieces are. The next sprue is very similar to the one we've just seen. It has a square hatch where the other one doesn't. The other one has 4 round openings and the big side hatch opening. This one has 3 round openings and a square hatch type opening, as well as the large round one. We have other parts of the engine here, the sides that form the side of the engine, and some other little detail bits. Lots of delicate looking plumbing and pipeworky kind of bits up here, which I'm assuming are going to be associated with all the plumbing internally in the engine and the hydraulics maybe. We've got what looks like a muffler there, part of the exhaust. This, I'm assuming, is going to be, yes, looks like an engine hatch because it's got vent slots in. So I think that's going to be an engine hatch which goes on this little square opening here by the look of it. Again, no flash, which you would expect on a brand new tool kit, and that's good. And again, minimal ejector pin marks, noticeable ejector pin marks, and in a place where they're not going to be particularly visible. So that's good. On here we have got some cloth looking thing. I don't know what that is at all. Part of what looks like a cannon, and then as we move over to this side we've got racks which obviously hold shells. So that's quite nice. We've got a sort of racks of shells which are going to be, you're going to be able to display internally, and I like that. That's good. Again, flicking it over, really nicely, cleanly moulded parts, and again, minimal ejector pin marks. They're very cleverly actually fitted. The gates here, which have looks like a lot of these have doubled up as ejector parts, so that they're not bearing directly onto the printed part. Often, for example, if this were the back side of the shells that would fit up against the hull inside a tank, you would find ejector pin marks on the inside of these, and there aren't any on these, so that's really nice. That's good to see. And another couple of big sprues, and this is obviously the internal frame. This clearly is the bit that the track runs on and that the crew sit inside, or one half of it, and then the balls fasten to the side of that. And a lot of what I'm looking at here is going to be pure guesswork. We've got what looks like hydraulic struts. That's obviously a seat, and a wheel, which I'm guessing is going to be for one of the hatches, which obviously this bit is, that goes on the large side pod. And I think, flipping that over, yeah, if you flip that over, you've got the casting sort of marks there, and I'm assuming that's where this little handle would go, and it would be an actuating handle to open the hatch. So that's nice. We've got what looks like a mantlet for a gun up here for a cannon, and some more bits of plumbing and pipe work and such. Again, all very clean. We've got the other side of the frame, and this looks pretty much like a duplicate of that particular sprue, I believe. Yep, I believe that's just an exact duplicate of that particular sprue. So this is duplicated on either side by the look of it, and the associated ducting and plumbing work just goes on either side. So we'll not spend too long looking at that, because obviously you can see it. On the previous one, we have got a radiator down here. That's something I do recognise quite easily. Handy, building cars comes in handy, model cars that is, and bits of framework which I'm guessing go along with those large side circular frames. I'm guessing this is part of the internal framework that meshes it all together. This looks like a headlight bowl up here that the headlight clear glass goes onto, and some other various possible engine bits, either a periscope or an air filter, maybe, something like that. But down here again we have another duplicate of the sprue that we just saw a moment ago, which has got the shells, the shell racks, and what looks like a cannon breech, and some little bits and pieces, including this strange cloth bag thingamabob, which might be to do with a gun. I'm not entirely sure at all yet. We have, or should have, I believe, 4 of these, which make up the track that runs around the outside. One of them is actually loose there, as you can see, but this is nicely moulded, nice and cleanly moulded. Looks like a huge sort of monster truck tyre tread or something, and visible ejector pin marks inside there, but that will be completely hidden once this is assembled. You won't be able to see that at all, I'm guessing. I don't think that will even be visible if you have a hatch open, but I will have to check that just to see, because obviously if so, it might need a little bit of detailing or something inside there. We'll see. Some yeah, if that's going to be visible, it might look a bit strange just being blank. Anyway, we'll look at that later. So we've got 4 of those, all identical. I'll stack those and pop them aside. Now clearly there are identical halves on this, being a ball tank and a half a ball either side, and we've already seen 2 sprues that have duplicated parts on, and this is a 3rd one, so same parts on both sprues. So we'll just pop one aside and we'll focus on one of them. These look like wheels and some kind of mantlet surround for one of the smaller hatches, maybe a smaller seat, which is maybe for a side gunner or something like that. Again, flipping it over, Nice and clean and very minimal ejector pin marks. The plastic, I was a little bit concerned that it might be fairly brittle type of plastic, looking at the ball halves, because it looks like that sort of striated sort of pattern that you get with the more brittle styrenes, depending on the colour that they're mixed with as a rule, but it feels quite flexible, so I've got confidence that that will be flexible enough to work with. I think we're okay there. We have a third one of that particular sprue, so that's 3 identical sprues there. And then I think, is that a, yeah, we've got another duplicate here, so we've got another identical 2 here, so we'll just pop one aside. And we have what look like stowage boxes with the Russian star on and handles by the look of it, and a cannon, a machine gun or something of that nature, and more stowage boxes. Flipping it over again, nice and clean, minimal ejector pin marks, that's good. So that's 2 of those, and the final sprues are we've got 2 of those, we have got 2 of those, and we've got 2 of those, so we've got 3 more duplicate sprues. So we'll just scoot those out of the way and we'll look at these. So on this one we have the T-shaped machine gun ball that you see in the side, so it obviously swivels 360 degrees, and well, it wouldn't be 360 degrees, would it? But you know what I mean. It obviously swivels, and then the gun can pan and move up and down as well. That's the machine gun in the side. And then some kind of little handle by the look of it. There are 2 of those. We have another ball with a cannon barrel, which presumably is the one that fits on the other side, I'm guessing. I'd have to look at the instructions in a bit more detail, but I'm guessing that's the one that goes on the other side. Again, a duplicate of that, so maybe it's 1 per side actually, because there's 2 of them. I don't know. Anyway, we've got a duplicate of that one, and again, very cleanly moulded with a bit of a seam line, but nothing that couldn't be very, very quickly and easily removed. In fact, that one's barely visible, the seam line on the gun barrel there. That would be quickly and easily removed with like going over with some sandpaper. In fact, I don't think you'd even need to scrape that. Nice little touch, we have a drilled out barrel end there. That's an unusual thing to see on kits with fairly small gun barrels, unless they're moulded in 2 halves or slide moulded, and they're larger ones like the cannons. If they're smaller ones, it's rare to see a sort of opened barrel end, so that's nice, saves drilling that out. And then these are what look like wheel spats, so I'm guessing these are parts of the side stabilizing wheels. And if you look back at the box art, you'll see that it's got the big central track and 2 stabilizers that come out to the side, which makes perfect sense because you would need that on something that would roll over onto its side potentially when you stopped. So there's 2 of those. That is the entirety of the sprues. So just doing a quick count, we've got 6, 8, 10, 12, so there's 4 of those. 14, 16, 18, 19, 23 sprues. That's a lot of sprues. 23 sprues in this box, and yes, that's a great number. Obviously some are duplicated, but that's a lot of parts. That's actually a lot of parts, and although a lot of tank kits with, say, individual track links would contain a lot of sprues in the bag, typically 4 or 5 or more of those would just be sprues of each individual track link. Oh, well, obviously multiples of an individual track link on one sprue, but But yeah, 23 sprues, so that's a lot of parts to cut and clean up and glue together and fettle. So this is going to be an interesting build. But looking at it and looking at the instructions, which we're just going to have another quick look at. As you can see there, you've got the two different turrets, and yes, there are turrets on the sides as well that point outwards, as well as the turrets that go forwards. So this is going to be a very interesting build, and lots of possibilities to do pretty much anything you please. I guess you could build this fairly clean, like a factory fresh thing, so it's just rolled out of the factory, or you could really go to town and dirty this up and weather the pants off it and do what you like. So there we are, guys. That's the What's in the Box review for the newly released in the UK Soviet ball tank Sharotank by Miniart in 1/35th scale with full interior. And being a what if series, as noted here on the top of the box, the beauty of this is that you don't have to build it as a Soviet tank. It's not a recognisable World War II tank, or even a modern sort of armed forces tank, for example. So if you were into your tabletop gaming, such as your Games Workshop Warhammer kind of stuff, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't paint this up as an Orc or a Space Marine vehicle or something along those lines, and it's going to be wide open to artistic interpretation, which is very good, and in my mind, from a modelling point of view. It's a lovely detailed kit by the look of the many sprue parts that we've seen, and the nice sharp detail is going to lend itself very well to weathering and highlighting as well. So that looks very interesting. It's going to be a fun build when I do get around to that. Obviously, as you know, at the moment I am currently working on the Cappuccino, and I'm starting on the YZF R1M, the new Yamaha from Tamiya. So because I was just kind of excited about this being a little bit different, and because this was just announced recently and I thought I'm going to go ahead and grab one, I just wanted to do a What's in the Box review and show you guys what's in there. So if you're thinking about going for one of these, I would certainly recommend it from what I've seen so far, and I would say go for it, definitely. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.